Well, you tell me what was in the beginning without saying I don't know.
Well, why can't I say I don't know?
Because that's ignorance, and you can't have that as an atheist.
Well, yes, you can, because atheists aren't asserting.
Atheists don't know. Nobody knows. This is Ray Comfort. I'm listening to the Atheist Experience number 702, the Ray Comfort interview. Christians have to know. They have to know. They can't be satisfied with, I don't know. So they make up this invisible man in the sky as their explanation. Something has to have a creator, because that's the best they can do with their little finite minds. They can't think beyond the laws of the world, or rather the laws of their religion. Well, I guess they have to see that everything has a creator, because in human beings create stuff, right? They couldn't just, tools didn't magically appear in the hands of Neanderthals. Neanderthals had to make those tools. From the very beginning, humans had to make and create things in order to have a better quality of life. So that's the way of thinking that these people have. There has to be a creator. Everything has to have a creator.
Absolute certainty or knowledge or any of that stuff.
Well, Christians do, because they know that there's a creation and there's a creator.
Sure.
They know that there's a creation and a creator. Well, that's lovely that they know this, but that doesn't make it true.
Asserting knowledge is different from demonstrating.
I know that there's a fire dragon at the heart of the planet, and when he gets pissed off, he blows off some fire and heats the rock. It becomes lava, and it spews out through conduits. I think that's the right word. Otherwise known as volcanoes, which is what causes eruptions. It's all about the fire dragon at the center of the earth. I know it's true, so it's true.
Demonstrating that this knowledge is true.
Well, you see, I don't need to demonstrate to a reasonable person that a painting had a painter.
Right. Do you know why?
Tell me why.
Because
a painting has a painter.
We recognize that a painting had a painter, not because it's complex.
So he's comparing I'm sorry, I was going to use the word creation. He's comparing the beginning of life and the beginning of the universe with a painting.
It's not because it's ordered. We recognize this from experience. All evidence points to this thing or being designed. Okay, we recognize design by contrasting it with what is naturally occurring. And that's why you can hold up a painting and a tree side by side, and you would say, oh, the painting is obviously the creation of an intelligent mind, because we have no examples of paintings coming into
I like Matt.
Existence on their own. We have no examples of paintings being able to reproduce. All evidence, we have millions of examples of paintings created by thinking minds. So all of the evidence points to this. The contrast, though, is that trees do naturally reproduce, as do people and living things. We have a good understanding of how plants...
You know, I listened to this entire interview, and the sad thing is he could talk until he's blue in his face, but this is somebody who you cannot talk to. You cannot even... forget it. You know, when the walls are up, the walls are up.
Planets form out of accretion disks from suns. Those things are naturally occurring. That contrast between naturally occurring and created.
I'm just kind of going through this. I'm not going to hit on every little thing that they're talking about, but I had comments I wanted to make on this interview with Ray Comfort, and so I'm just kind of scrolling ahead. So if there's stuff that you want to hear, please go watch this or listen to the Atheist Experience number 702, the Ray Comfort interview. Okay.
But when you say that the smartest person on the earth can't create a grain of sand, therefore it must have been created by some other...
I actually didn't say that, Matt.
Well, you said it would be absurd to think that this came into its own.
Let me tell you what I said,
sure,
so you can back up a little. The smartest person, most intelligent person on the face of this earth cannot create a grain of sand from nothing.
You know, this is funny. I keep hearing this from Christians. Nothing. They keep claiming that evolution and or cosmology claims that things come from nothing. Nothing. I don't know what science they're making fun of, because cosmology does not claim that something came from nothing, and neither does evolution. Neither one of these two sciences claim that anything came from nothing. And yet, here's Ray Comfort, and he's trying to say that someone claims that sand comes from nothing, or that something comes from nothing. There's nothing there's no science that I know of that claims that something comes from nothing. The only thing that I know of that claims that something comes from nothing is Christianity. When you look at the story of Genesis, God is making things come from nothing. The earth, light comes from nothing. The earth comes from nothing. Water comes from nothing. Trees come from nothing. Plants come from nothing. The animals just pop into thin air from nothing. Dirt comes from nothing. God creates it from nothing. And yet Christianity is constantly criticizing, I don't know what science, like I said, cosmology, evolution, whatever. Oh, well, you say that something comes from nothing. No, they don't. No science that I know of says that something comes from nothing. Only Christianity makes that claim. I wish people would just look at their beliefs, it's like they turn the tables and say, this absurd thing that they believe is what science is trying to claim. No, it isn't. That's your religion that makes that claim, not the other way around.
All right.
We can recreate
Sure.
what God's already given us. We can change it.
Well,
And we're supposed to, God's already given us this. That's an assumption. This guy says these things, and yet he produces no evidence whatsoever to show that some deity gave us this stuff. None. We're just supposed to assume that this is a fact.
we can modify
What's
exists.
already there.
Right. But you are still just asserting that we are modifying things that God gave us. And
Yeah.
I'm saying, apart from your appeal to some special way of knowing, this direct revelation from God or direct experience with God, how else could we justify that? Because that could never, surely you would agree that your personal experience could not possibly be justification for somebody else.
Yeah, but let's go back to what we're talking about. Do you agree or don't you agree with me when I say the most intelligent person on the face of this earth cannot create a grain of sand, a leaf, a flower, or a bird, or a frog from nothing? We don't...
There he is again, from nothing. No, humans can't create things from nothing. And neither does science. Neither does nature create something from nothing. So why does he keep bringing this up like it somehow relates to anything that science claims? It isn't. God, I wish, I really appreciate Matt, but it's like, I wish somebody would say that to one of these Christians. Hello? There is no science making this claim. Only Christianity makes this claim that something comes from nothing. God himself. Christianity claims that God himself comes from nothing. Who created God? Nobody created God. Well, where did he come from? Well, he's always been here. Really? And you can criticize science for this when they don't even make this claim. Frustrated. Very frustrated. Okay.
know where to start.
I agree with that, and I also say that 50,000 years ago, the most intelligent person on the face of the earth probably couldn't have created a cell phone from the actual pieces.
Yeah,
I don't know how that's relevant.
The other thing, too, you mentioned the scientific method. Could you define that for me?
Well, there's a number of different definitions, but the guiding principle is that you begin with an observation, you develop a hypothesis, and then there is a process of testing and falsification, peer-reviewed research, where others attempt to replicate your results and to falsify them to demonstrate, that we're constantly trying to prove that this is wrong. And then you get to the point where an hypothesis has graduated and becomes a theory, and it becomes the best current explanation possible.
Ding, 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 ding.
I noticed, there's been a lot of times where...
I just make a note. A theory isn't just something, oh, I think that the sky is really green, and I have a theory that the sky is really green. It's not that. He starts out with an idea and based on observation, a hypothesis, and then he comes up with a theory. Well, no, it's still a hypothesis. I'm sorry. The hypothesis goes through all these testing and peer review, other scientists trying everything in their power to disprove the hypothesis. Not prove it, disprove it. Including the guy who came up with it, most likely. Nobody wants, everybody wants to make sure this thing is true before it even remotely comes close to the point where it gets to be called a theory. So for the theory of evolution to be called a theory, I love it when Christians go, oh, it's just a theory. For something to get to the point where it's called a theory, it's a huge, huge ordeal it has to go through. And heads up, creationism doesn't even come close, doesn't even cut muster. Creationism isn't even a theory, and yet they look at evolution and go, oh, evolution is just a theory. Well, at least evolution is a theory. It is an accepted theory based on actual evidence and testing, and peer review. Creationism, not even close to a theory. It's not even science. Okay, so this is going to be a long video because I haven't even gotten to the stuff that I really wanted to comment about.
You talked about the origin of the Earth or evolution and any number of things where people who understand the subjects much better than I do, and but probably better than any in this room do, have corrected you on things, and yet the arguments your arguments remain the same. And I'm curious.
He's pointing out how it's really very pointless to talk to Ray Comfort about anything because he's like a lot of Christians. He's got his little world, and that's it. He doesn't want to learn. He doesn't want to know things. He doesn't listen. He doesn't take in a new information and modify his current viewpoint at all.
Curious as to why that is. I mean, if for example, in your book, You Can Lead an Atheist to Evidence, but you can't make him think, you answered a question from an email that was, how old do you think
he wrote a book, You Can Lead an Atheist to Evidence, but you can't make him think. That's funny coming from a Christian. I'd like to know what evidence Ray Comfort is talking about. What evidence, Ray? There is no evidence for anything in the Bible that I know of. So what evidence? Yeah, that's funny.
The Earth is, and you essentially said you had no idea how old the Earth is, but science doesn't either, or science has continually changed because years ago they thought it was 100 million years, and now they're up to 4.5 billion years.
Right.
Well, science hasn't made any steps towards the absurd notion that it's 6,000 to 10,000 years old, and at each stage the date was the best available. We are building on knowledge as we're standing on the shoulders of giants, seeing further all the time. And so the idea that science hasn't any idea or any good idea about how old the Earth is just demonstrably wrong.
Could it change over the next 100 years?
Yes.
Will the date become more precise over the next 100 years?
Yes.
Quite possibly.
Absolutely.
If we get additional information.
So that means at the present day, our modern dating could be wrong, more than likely.
Yes.
So
however,
therefore science doesn't know how old the Earth is.
And neither does Ray Comfort know how old the Earth is. Humans are flawed. And so, no, we will never know. It's like he wants to know down to the exact date and hour that the Earth was created. And unless science can come up with that and stick to it, Ray Comfort is not satisfied. We're going to continue to develop science. Science is going to continue to get more sophisticated and advanced and precise and accurate, hopefully. And as it becomes more advanced, it's going to replace the current forms of the current way that we do science and testing right now. And probably it's going to exceed what we do right now. And yes, I'm thinking that the next in the future, we're going to have a better idea of how old the planet is than we do now. Just as right now, we have a much better idea of how old the planet is than we did 100 years ago. It's like this guy, if we don't keep the dinosaurs with scales and dragging their tail and being slow moving, this guy is not satisfied. He doesn't want he doesn't want people to learn. He doesn't want people to discover and bring in new knowledge and become more accurate about what they know. He wants us all to stay with, okay, pick something and stick with it. Keep the dinosaurs slow moving with scales dragging their tail. If you make them with feathers and fast moving, and warm blooded, oh, that just means science is wrong. No, it means science is actually getting closer to being able to see through the window of time back to a time where we did not even exist. It's like this is the stuff I really wanted to talk about. This is like in the old days when religion discouraged people from looking at the sky and looking at the stars. They discouraged it. So what happened? Well, the sailors didn't know how to navigate on the sea because they weren't able to look at the stars, and basically civilization was brought to a standstill because knowledge and education and ordinary people reading and writing, that was all discouraged. The church didn't want anybody to learn. The church didn't want anybody to discover or explore, because any kind of knowledge, any kind of exploration or experimentation or whatever is a danger to the church. It's a threat to the church. It comes closer and closer to proving that this is bullshit. So anyway, back to this. This is what I really took offense by when I was listening to this the first time. He's actually criticizing science for trying to become more and more precise about the age of the earth. Meanwhile, we have the Christians going, oh, well, the Bible says we just look at the generations that are written of these fictional characters in this book, and this is how we know that the earth is only 5,000 years old. I'm just like, really? And we're never going to change that opinion because, the Bible is unchanging and 100% accurate. Meanwhile, science is out busting their ass trying to come up with better ways all the time of being more accurate, of coming down to what is as close as they possibly can to being accurate. They can't ever know for sure if they're accurate 100% unless they invent the time machine and go back in time. And somehow from that, they're able to accurately chart time from then to now. Until they come up with the time machine, we're never going to know 100% accurate. We're going to constantly be trying to reach for the goal of being accurate, getting closer and closer, hopefully, the more advanced we get. And this guy's you guys are you can't make up your minds. 100 years ago, you said it was 100,000 years old, and now you're saying it's a couple. Yeah, I hope we're a little bit more advanced than we were 100 years ago, Ray. Anyway, this is me ranting at a guy who's never going to hear this.
Well, you're still referring to know as an assertion of absolute certainty, and science doesn't do that, and no rational person should, outside of a handful of things that we can be absolutely certain about. Our own existence and direct experience things. You're saying that science doesn't know just because it hasn't come up with a firm date that the Earth is.
That's right. It could change by 1 billion years in the next 100 years easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not going to go down to 6 to 10,000 years.
Right.
I mean, that's incredibly unlikely.
Well, I didn't say that.
I understand, but what you're presenting is that as long as you can't be absolutely certain about something, every answer is just as good as any other. That if science isn't absolutely certain to the minute or second about how old the Earth is, that an answer of 4 to 6,000 years, 6 to 10,000 years, is equally viable as one that's 4.5 billion years, and that's just simply not true.
No, I didn't say that, and I didn't say if science can't be.
I know you didn't say it. That's the implication.
To the second or the minute. I'm saying you guys changed by the billions.
When you talk about error bars, I mean, changing things. It doesn't change by the billions. What are you talking about?
Well, you just check out the last 100 years, the history of how old science thought the Earth is, and you'll find it just jumps all over the place. You know, from hundreds of thousands to millions to billions.
Sure.
And so I don't like that. I like something being a...
He doesn't like it. Darn. You know, I think we should just redo how we do science completely so Ray Comfort likes it. Which means I guess we should just stick with what they thought 1,000 years ago. Yeah, let's go back to that. Whatever it was that they thought that the Earth was 1,000 years ago, let's go back to that and stick with that. Since maybe Ray will like science a little bit more if we stick to our, no matter how much new evidence we find and new information we manage to glean along the way. Forget it, just throw it out the window. Let's stick to what, let's just say the Earth is 100,000 years old. Okay, so now no matter what new information comes in, no matter what equipment we build that is more accurate and precise than the equipment we had before, no matter what comes along, that's nice, but we're not gonna tell people that because we don't want them to get upset with us. So we'll just stick with the 100,000 years. We don't need to confuse people like Ray Comfort with this more accurate information. Well, it's nice that we can know this, but we'll tell the general population that the Earth is 100,000 years old. We'll just keep telling them that because that's what they like. That's what they're used to, and we'll keep scales on the dinosaurs and keep them dragging their tails on the ground because that's what's comfortable. That's what Ray Comfort wants to hear. Okay, so that was another point. There was another one, so I'm going to fast forward.